Wouldn't it just be amazing if every time you sent a personal message or a DM to someone on social media, they answered every single time, they were excited to hear from you, and they followed whatever call to action you gave them? It'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? I mean, it would make business feel fun again, wouldn't it? You'd probably be able to start really believing that not only could you hit your goals, but you could build real, strong relationships with people, whether they ended up buying your products or services or not, right? Well, there's a little prospecting formula that I would love to share with you today that will show you how to achieve exactly that. So let's dive in. Today, I am here with Wendy Lee Stevenson. She is a busy mom to 7 kiddos. So talk about busy. She spent 14 years in the corporate world and started a network marketing business to make a little extra money to pay off debt. How many of us have been in that place? I know I have. She did, little did she know her plan B would become her plan A after a layoff. She went all in, and in the past 8 years, she's built 3 six-figure businesses and has built teams that have done over 10 million in sales online. She was featured in Yahoo News as one of the top 10 social media experts to watch out for in 2021. And she recently launched her flagship course, Foundations of a Six-Figure Mompreneur, to help moms in network marketing hit that elusive six-figure income with simplicity, intention, and joy without the overwhelm. So we are so blessed to have her with us here today. Welcome, Wendy Lee. I'm so glad to have you here.
Oh, thanks. It's so good to be here. It's an honor. I appreciate you having me and introducing me to your amazing audience.
Yeah. So, I'm sure many of them have already met you and found you online, but maybe for people in the audience who haven't met you yet, could you tell us just a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and kind of what brought you here with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned I worked 14 years in the corporate world. I was in sales and marketing. I really prided myself on my career. I tried the at-home mom thing for a second, and I wasn't good at it because I felt like I very quickly lost myself. And I just felt like I was one of those, I felt like I was a better mom working. And I had that mom guilt a little bit, I was like, should I feel good enough being home full time? But it's like, I missed that. And so somebody introduced me to network marketing. I was completely opposed at first. Just for those of you that have ever reached out to somebody and they've totally shut you down, I was one of those people. I was like, I'm anti-MLM and I have a real job. I was so rude.
That so sounds like me. I can totally relate to that. Oh my goodness. Yes, I feel that.
Yeah. And, but then you guys, a week later, I came across some information. I went to a conference and I learned about residual income and passive income. And at this conference, they were talking about all the ways to create that. And everything required a lot of money up front. And I remembered the girl who reached out to me said passive income. And so I was like, okay, I need to maybe go back and ask her and be educated about what I said no to. And so I went back, asked her some questions, signed up for the business that night, and wound up being the top earner on her team, which is just crazy, especially because I was the one that shut her down so completely.
Right. I know. It's incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I said yes. And, I was a little bit of a slow starter. Like the first month, she was probably like, are you going to do anything? Because I did nothing the first month. But then my second month, I brought a few people in, had no clue what I was doing. My third month, I went to an event. There was an event put on by the company that happened to be in my town. And so it was an awesome opportunity for me to hear other people's stories. And I want to say the power of hearing people's stories is huge, because I sat in that audience and there was a girl up on stage and she was a career woman. And she said, I've surpassed my full-time 6-figure income with my business on the side. And when she said that, it was like, oh, that's what I want to do. Right? Like, okay, I'm in. And seeing what was possible by hearing her story really inspired me. So I kind of picked it up and I was like, I'm just going to find the biggest leaders I know and copy what they do.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what
success
to do
leaves clues. And that's what we're all here for today during this event, right? Is like all these successful people, you could go through that learning curve all on your own, or you could take what they did, shorten your learning curve and get results so much faster.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I found the top leader in my town. I followed her around. I did everything she did. And, I don't like the term, the phrase fake it till you make it, but I do like to say act as if you've already have.
Yeah.
Right. So I acted as if I was as successful as she was. Right. And I carried myself with that posture. What I found is a few months in, and I had a 4-figure paycheck. And then I lost my job.
Thank goodness you had built that plan B, right?
Yes. I'm like, what could have been literally the most devastating day for me? Because I was the full-time breadwinner for my family. What if could have been a devastating day? I actually walked into going, God, right? Like now I know my path is clear of what direction I'm going to take. And so I leaned all the way into building my network marketing business, and it wasn't easy. Okay. Like we almost lost our house that first year as I was building my income. It was hard, but we are not built by easy things.
Yeah.
We're built, and our strength is created in the hard, right? Like lifting weights. When you lift weights, the reason your muscle builds is because it's being torn, right? It's being broken down. And so while that year was so hard for me emotionally and in relationships and all these things, it was the biggest growth year of my life. And by my second year, I surpassed my full-time income. And my third year, I was a 6-figure earner.
That's incredible. I didn't realize we had that in common. So I was also in one of those situations where I got laid off. But because I had been building my business, it wasn't even a panic moment. I remember sitting in the room and they're telling me this, and I'm thinking like, wow, it's actually happening, right? Yeah. And then they're telling me like, oh, this must be so hard. Do you have any questions? And I was just like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Like, it's fine. See you later.
I get a severance package to help me build my business for a minute. I'm good.
Yeah. And how many of you in the audience would love to just have that level of confidence about life of like, whatever it throws at you, you're good because you have the right strategies in place. You followed the right successful leaders, and now you can implement what they've done. So let's dig into what Wendy Lee has done and give you guys a little bit of a, shorten that learning curve and kind of dig into it all. So I know for you, Wendy, a large part of your success came from Facebook and connecting and networking and prospecting the right way.
Yes.
Right. So, when it comes to Facebook, some people feel like it's so busy, it's so saturated already. How do you find leads and prospects on Facebook? Yeah. What would you recommend in terms of like taking things from maybe riding the struggle bus to like next level killing it status?
Yeah. And I think there's 2 big factors. Number 1 is knowing who you're talking to. And number 2 is knowing what problem you solve. And so I think, we lean into like my first network marketing company, it was in skincare, and they're like, we sell to everyone with skin, and I'm like,
advice ever. Worst advice ever. If you're talking to when you're talking to no one.
Exactly. When you try to talk to everyone, you talk to no one. And that's why, like, we don't want to be divisive online, but you should be opinionated, right? You should have a strong opinion because it's something for people to connect to. You can find that connection piece. But it starts with, who do you want to serve? Right? Who is that person that you're looking for to either buy your products or join you in business? And you've got to know them intimately. Like, give them a name, right? Yeah. Mine's Christy.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know everything about Christy, right? I know where she shops. I know how many kids she has. I know how old she is. I know what keeps her up at night. I know what her and her husband argue about. I know what is stressing her out and what brings her joy. And when you can really know your person and who you're talking to, the first big thing is where to find them, right? Because the biggest struggle on Facebook is where to find the people.
Like, right? I know tons of people say, I don't have enough people to talk to, right? And I know when you're struggling in business, whether you're in network marketing or whether you're a coach or selling courses, it doesn't really matter, right? The whole one way or the other on social media, you have to find people. Yes. To talk to. And so I know in the beginning, especially when someone's struggling, it's tempting to say, well, my ideal person is anyone with a pulse and a page and like money in their pocket, right? But what you're telling us, and I couldn't agree more, is if you can zero in on a specific person and speak to that specific person, all of a sudden someone's listening instead of everyone ignoring you.
Exactly. And when you are online, one of the best tips I ever got, and one of his speakers said, talk to one person. Stop saying, hey, everybody, right? And not just in your live videos, but in every post that you create. Talk to one person. And is it going to speak to everybody? No. But the person that it's for, it's going to really impact, right? Like I literally just got finished a live video in one of my groups. And I said, do you struggle with creating good copy for your posts on social media? Right? Do you spend a ton of time trying to figure out what to say in the most perfect way to get it to translate? Well, I have a solution for you. Well, guess what? Every person that feels that is going to stop their scroll, is going to lean in and see what I have to offer, right? Whereas people that doesn't affect, they're not going to be like, oh, who's she talking to, right? They're just going to move on.
They're just going to move on and not have another thought about it. But yeah, like you got very specific on a very specific problem.
Yes.
Right. And the person having that specific problem, and all of a sudden people are paying attention. So clearly speaking to a specific person or group of people can help to get engagement. But how do you then turn them into a lead or a prospect for your business?
Yeah. So I have a 3I prospecting formula that I teach. So, and it's identify, influence, interact. Those are the 3 pieces, right? Identifying your ideal client and their pain points, influencing them through your marketing by speaking to their problems and solving their problems in what you post, and then getting in Messenger. So if I go and I friend request somebody, and what's the first thing you do when someone friend requests you? You go check out their profile.
Yeah. Right? You go see who they are. Like, who is this person?
Yeah. Who is this person? So immediately I want them to feel connection to me, right? If they're my person, then my content should make them feel connected immediately. So they go look at my profile and they're like, oh yeah, man, maybe I could learn something from this.
Like, I like this Wendy girl.
Yeah. And so you want them to feel that connection so that they accept. And then once they're your friend, right, they accept your friend request. That's when I go in, I look at their profile, and then I interact. I use that third eye. I go interact. I've influenced them just enough to make them say yes to my request. And now I interact with them and start a conversation. When you do that and you do it on repeat and you start to see that they're watching your stories, they're interacting with your posts, that person literally, you can take them from a cold lead to a warm prospect in a few moves, right? Just by relating to them and having that conversation in Messenger. And it doesn't have, I wouldn't say it being a prospecting conversation right away, but get to know you.
Just like connecting as humans.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, I'm Wendy. I'm a real person. I'm not just a network marketer, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So do you notice then as you go through this process of course, putting good marketing out there, which is attractive and interesting and compelling, right? Do you find then in going through this process of, connecting and then interacting with them, that you'll see certain names popping up over and over of so-and-so liked, so-and-so commented, so-and-so, right? Like, how do you tell when they're maybe ripe to actually have a business-oriented conversation? Are there certain clues you could be looking for?
Yeah. For me specifically, I have written out the kind of person that I want to do business with. So when I see those characteristics in a person, I simply tell them that, right? I will send them a message. Hey, I've been seeing your name pop up in my feed. I absolutely love the way that you share your life on social media, or the way you share your family, or the way you're so passionate online about what you stand for. That's exactly what I look for in business partners. And just curious, are you open to taking a look at what it is I do to make money online? Because I think you'd be an amazing fit. And if it's not for you, no big deal, but you're totally my type of person.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to be authentic about the compliment you give has to be real. You have to actually like that thing about them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, yes.
And when you are filling your funnel with enough leads, you don't have like that desperation, right? You don't have the commission breath, right? Like, you don't have to drool all over every prospect. You can actually be choosy. And so, people ask me like, oh, how do you find the right ones? Well, I'm talking to so many people that I have the posture of like, if I reach out to you, it's because I'm actually impressed with you.
Yeah.
Right. And that is a compliment to the other person. And if I'm not reaching out to you about my business or my products or trying to build a relationship with you, it's okay to I unfriend people.
Yeah.
If
they're not, if you get to know them and they're not really your kind of person,
yeah,
you don't feel bad about that.
Yeah. Or if I friend request them and I start a conversation, and I just unfriended somebody the other day who I kept trying to have conversation at literally 1-word answers, or yeah, that's nice, or just really short, non-conversational. And I'm like, that's not the person I want to do business with. Bye-bye. Right.
Yeah.
So, and that gives you the posture, because that's another, the 3 I's are so important, but in all of that, we have to have belief and we have to have posture. And the things we need belief in are company, our products, this industry, and ourselves, right? We need belief in those things. And then we need the posture, that acting as if. Act as if you're already the millionaire you want to be, or the 6-figure earner you want to be, or the whatever it is, whatever your goal is. Act as if you're already there.
Yeah. Step into the future self that you want to be, and you will become that future version of yourself. I mean, absolutely. So what kind of, it sounds like authentically connecting, putting out valuable content, setting up your profile in the right way, like you said, in such a way that it lets people know right away, oh, there's some real value here, right? Do you have any advice on how to do that initial profile setup so that it actually attracts people?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to say this first. There's no set way. I can give you some suggestions, but some people love the really in your face, this is what I do, this is my help statement. Some people are more subtle. You got to go with what feels good to you. There's no one size fits all, but I would say a couple of things to check, right? Is number 1, do you have a memorable profile photo? I just recently updated mine with this bright pink background and me laughing, because my old profile picture, I'm like, it doesn't actually reflect who I am. It was this very posed, whatever, to look good on Facebook. And I'm like, no, I'm super expressive. I make lots of faces. And so I'm like, I want that to show up. And I love the hot pink. So I have a really bright, memorable profile picture. So now even when I'm scrolling somebody else's, it's I know when I've commented on it, because you see, my picture there. Yeah. And so I think number 1 is having a profile picture that is you, that feels like you, authentically you, and let your personality shine through. Number 2 is taking, utilizing the real estate that we have, your bio, the cover photo, where it says your work history or where you've lived, things like that. Utilize that space to let people get to know you, but not scare them off that you're going to sell them. Right? Don't have your company, if you're in network marketing, right? Don't have your company website there. Create a milkshake or a highlight link or whatever, a link tree to direct people in a different way that's not just your company website. Don't put that you work at XYZ company, right? Say that you're the CEO of your own company.
Yes.
And then also clean up your page. I like to talk about, I create this grid for content. So I have my 3 pillars or storylines, which I'm about faith, family, and business, right? Those are my 3 big buckets, you could call it.
It's what you stand for.
It's what I stand for. Yes. And that's what you can expect to see when you come to my profile, is things about my faith, my family, and my business. And then I have the 4 E's that I teach. So entertain, empower, engage, and educate. And so I just make a little grid and go, okay, how can I educate about business? How can I entertain about business? How can I empower with regards to business? How can I do those things with my faith, with my family? And I want people to see when they come to my profile in 5 posts that I'm about those things, right? And not get confused. People say the niches are in the riches, right? And I'm not saying you have to get niche like you're only about one thing, but you want people to not be confused about what you stand for.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you're about.
I love this. This is fascinating. And for the audience members watching, I hope this is helpful to you, because when you hear someone say, I'm going to teach you about strategies to sell in the DMs and to effectively prospect, you wouldn't necessarily intuitively start with your profile, but actually that's where it starts, right? That's the foundation of the minute you start messaging someone, they're going to go check out your profile and be like, who is this person?
Yeah,
do I like them as a human?
Yeah.
Do I like who they are as a person, right? What do they stand for? What are they all about? So I love this advice. It's so foundational. It'll never serve you wrong.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So the first step in actually selling through DMs is cleaning up your profile.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And so clearly that's a foundational piece. Knowing who you're talking to being another one.
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk to the perfect audience if you don't know who they are.
Right.
So I love that advice. Right. So now for the viewers, they're going to go out, right? They're going to clean up their profiles. Yes. They're going to figure out who their actual perfect person would be to work with and start getting brave and being choosy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
When it comes to finally now getting in the DMs and talking with people, do you have any general advice or like a DMO to follow or like do's and don'ts? Any advice on what to actually say or not say?
Yes. For me, I'll tell you, I like create these rhythms, right? So one rhythm I have is every single day in my power hour, I'm adding new connections because based on my ideal client, I know where to find that person. So I blindly send friend requests. I don't overthink friend requests. I blindly send them. If they're hanging out on the page where my ideal client's hanging out, I just pull up and go, who can I add as a friend, right? And I add them. So then the other part of my power hour is going and sorting my friends list on Facebook by recently added. You can sort by the newest first. And so those are the people that have most recently accepted my friend request. Mm-hmm. So that's when I go in and I look at their profile and I'm like, okay, how can I connect with this person? And I'm going to give you guys a really simple opener. Okay. If you have nothing else that you can connect with, you can see where people live on their profile. And so I'll get in and I'll say, thank you so much for connecting. I love meeting new people online. I see that you're from Dallas, Texas. How long have you, or I see that you live in Dallas, Texas. Are you from there originally? Right? People love to talk about themselves. So you want to ask a question to get people to open up about themselves. And so that's a nice, easy one. Of course, as you do this and as you get better, as you practice it, you're never going to get better, by the way, if you don't do it. Yeah. You can learn all you want, but until you start doing it, you're not going to improve on it. So start with that. But then as you get better and you're looking at people's profiles, if I see someone with a lot of kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are the ages of your kids? I see, it looks like you have about 4 or 5 kids. I have 7. My age ranges are this. What are yours? Right? Find that way to connect with them and to ask them a question about them. Think about when you go to a party. Okay. If you go to a cocktail party or networking event and you're getting to know somebody, there's 2 types of people, 2 extremes. Okay. So I'm going to tell you about these 2 extremes and tell me which one you want to be. Okay. So there's the one that you go to and they are like, hey, great to meet you. So, and you ask what they do and all of a sudden everything's about them. Right? They tell you everything about them. They don't ask you anything about you. And you walk away going, that person's full of themselves. Right?
Yes.
But then when you're on the flip side and somebody keeps asking you about you and you keep sharing, you walk away, even though you might not have learned anything about them. And you're like, they were the nicest person.
Right? Yes. People have a fundamental need to feel seen, heard, and understood. So if you're asking questions that make someone feel seen, make someone feel heard, maybe for the first time that week.
Yeah.
Right? To show that you're asking enough questions that you actually care about who they are as a person. It's incredibly flattering. You're right. Like you might walk away being like, I don't know anything about that person except I like them.
Exactly. And here's the thing. It's fun. The ladies that I have in my mastermind, it's so funny. We do a power hour together every morning. We call it a seed session. We do a seed session together every morning. And I love hearing them go, oh my gosh, it's so fun. I've made so many friends today. Because when you get in and you start asking about somebody else, not always does it turn up that they're your customer or your business partner, but sometimes they're your friend. Sometimes they invite you to collaborate on something or sometimes, right? You never know what's going to happen. And it's actually fun to create relationships and to make other people feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
And so
I love that reflection because so many people who are trying to build a business online, they open their messaging software with the intention of, I'm getting a customer. Everyone here is a potential customer. But if you go into it with a heart of like, I might find a customer, I might find my new best friend, I might find someone to interview for my podcast, I might find someone who lives across town and has kids the same age, and maybe my kid makes a new friend. Like if you're open to more than just, I'm going to sell them something,
right?
The world can show you all kinds of amazing connections.
Absolutely. And it's powerful. I mean, I've been on several podcasts, and most of them have come from me just starting a conversation with somebody I didn't know. And they're like, oh my gosh, we get to know each other. They're like, I love your story. Hey, P.S. I have a podcast. Do you want to be on it?
It's like, yeah, it's like the adult version of like, hey, do you want to play with me?
Exactly.
So funny.
It's so funny. Yeah, the adult play date.
Yeah.
So yeah, just going into it with the heart of serving. And to kind of wrap this up, one of the things we mentioned in the beginning, right? But is understanding what problems you solve. So I think a really great activity for everyone to do that's watching this is to write down, when it comes to your business, take a piece of paper, divide it into 2 sections. One section says business. The other section, I want you to pick a category of products. Like if you're in one of those companies that you sell, like mine, we have household care, skincare, healthcare, like pick one subject, right? Mm-hmm. And so maybe weight loss or skincare or, leggings. I don't know, but pick those categories. So business and whatever product category, and write down at first, just the features. So you're going to divide the page again. At the top, it's the features. Like, what is it? Like, what can it do for you? Oh,
we have a super stretch legging that repels dog hair. That's whatever, right? Yeah.
Like dual-sided on business, dual-sided comp plan, or customer referral program, or blah, blah, whatever. So it's like the nuts and bolts that really you care about now that you're doing what you do, but nobody else does. Okay.
Yeah, no one
but
cares.
Then I want you to take those things and go, what does this actually mean for the prospect? What problem does this solve? And in the bottom half of your paper, say what, like I think about, and this will just get your mind there a little bit. So I sell a collagen that helps target tummy fat. Okay. One of the things I like to talk about is the stressed out mom in mornings, right? Trying to get ready for church. Like, have you ever been the mom getting ready for church and that you turn into like Cruella de Vil? You start yelling at your kids because you're so stressed out. And really what it comes down to is you don't have clothes that make you feel good because of that extra tummy fat that you're carrying.
You've tried on 3 pairs of jeans. You can't close the top of any of them. Yeah. And you're feeling terrible about yourself and you're going to be late for church.
And you're going to take it out on your kids, right?
Yeah.
And then you feel guilty and you're like, all this, why? Why am I so miserable every Sunday morning? Well, it's because the extra tummy fat. Like, what if I can help you with that? Right? So it's taking this, we call them internal and external problems, right? An external problem is I have extra belly fat. The internal problem is I'm miserable in the mornings and late for whatever because I can't find anything to wear.
Like I'm stressed in my mind, and it's causing me to lash out at my children, right? Yeah.
So what are those problems that you solve that are more the deep internal emotional things, right? Because people buy with emotion.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So that'll help you completely transform your business by just being in that mode all the time. What problems can you solve and understand them? Once you write them down, like practice conversations in leading people to expose those problems. So that's where if you can become a good question asker in Messenger, you can help people offer up their problems and then you can offer the solution.
That's fantastic. What a simple and super efficient exercise to get someone immediately thinking differently, right? About how to actually, we all want to, sell with a heart of service, but what does that mean? It means solving problems for people. Absolutely. So what a simple exercise to help people put their mindset in that space. I love that. Now, I also understand you have some other tools that might be helpful to our audience to help them really nail their prospecting game, if you will. You have a free gift for them. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I mentioned my 3I prospecting formula. So I have just a quick little downloadable worksheet for like really wrap your mind around what that looks like and how to put it into practice in your business and where to find your ideal client, right? There's so many things we automatically think Facebook group, but there's other ways to find your ideal client. And so I have this worksheet that's going to help you just lay out, map out, who is it that I'm looking for? Where can I find them? How can I influence them? And how do I start interacting with them to really build a business and build these relationships that turn into big business? And so you can download that freebie.
I'll have it in a button somewhere below this video. So look for it there, everyone.
My 3I prospecting formula. You can use it I use Facebook and Instagram primarily, but you can translate it to any.
Yeah. I mean, anywhere that offers messaging, you can use it there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, how helpful. You break it down in such an easy, actionable way, which I love. So for those in the audience watching, definitely take action on something that Wendy Lee taught us today, because if you're just watching for entertainment and you never take any action, you're not going to get the results, of course. So do the little exercise she talked about with the quadrants, grab the download, and let's all get better at prospecting with that heart of service. And we can completely transform the industry together. And this, who knows, maybe this event is the beginning of that trajectory for you where everything changes. So thank you so much, Wendy Lee, for joining us. It's been so valuable and helpful. I can't wait to see what the audience does with your advice.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Adrienne. It was awesome.
Awesome.
All right.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Impactful Entrepreneurs Show with Adrienne Hill, where we support coaches, course creators, and network and affiliate marketers to translate their big picture vision into actionable plans to build out their business efficiently. If you love our show, we invite you to visit buildalifebydesign.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover more helpful resources. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Thank you for listening.